Hey guys, how you doing? Day 50 trillion of the COVID-19 crisis. Still in quarantine. My hair, absolutely lovely today. I think I do have to pause for a minute and just admire the hair today. I decided not to, I didn't have a shower today. And the hair, I mean, geez Louise. This is like a cartoon character hair. Don't you think? Like I got like a Woody Woodpecker thing almost going on. So please take seriously the things I'm about to say. Here with my little poops. I'll show my little guy. He's over there sleeping, snoozing on the bed. I'm such a night owl, so I stay up pretty late, generally. I think the big news that's happening right now, like certainly the news that is impacting me the most, is the Canadian Senate. 50 Canadian senators put forward support, I guess would be the way to say it. Support, sent a letter to Justin Trudeau and the federal Liberals in support of the passage of a permanent basic income, essentially saying that the CERB is a basic income program and we simply need to make it permanent. And they're encouraging the government to do so. In the wake of that, people, Trudeau extends the CERB, the CERB, the curb, I don't know what to call it, extends the benefits to students, which had been previously excluded. The reporting on it is, they're trying, it seems to me that the corporate media is trying to portray it as if it's the slow rollout of like extending benefits to people and so on and so forth. They're reporting on it as if it's, hey, it's not easy to do, right? Like you can't just flip a switch and make universal benefits and things like this. And I think that's true, but I think that there's no reason why they can't continue to expand this program, right? The continued expansion of the program is really what I think it comes down to until it finally is a universal program and everyone is involved and everyone is in it. One of the big things that's really becoming more and more apparent to me is people really don't understand like the cyclical nature of the economy, that economies function in cycles. Monetary systems operate in cycles. The entire reason there's taxation and the entire reason that there's spending of taxation is because of this cycle, right? Because the financial currency itself isn't actually an object. Like that's another thing I think people have really, like, they can't get their head around it. I know in my early 20s I started to really grapple with that concept and it was very difficult. And I really think now, like right at this moment, people are really coming to terms with the idea that like currency itself is not really anything. It's the promise of something. And societies use currency as like as a tool. It's a technology, right? It's a tool and it's a technology that we use in order to kind of smooth the transactions between one another, or the negotiations between one another. And for centuries and millennia, it seems as though we've been approaching currency as if it's something to be, it's something to hoard and hold close and so on and so forth. And we used to have currencies that were tied to precious metals because we had this idea in our head that, oh, that's difficult to get and it's shiny and we can't really use it for anything else. So we might as well use it as like a way to spread a currency around one another. But really what it is just an exclusionary thing. Empires put their face on coins, things like this, and you can only use this coin in these regions. And so it's a way to exclude a type of person from your economy. doing it that way. We have entered, and fairly recently, like we've entered this digital age of currency where currencies are, they're imaginary numbers on a computer screen. They're these completely arbitrary, who cares? Currencies have almost, not quite, but almost become disconnected from nations. And like you do have digital currencies like Bitcoin and things like this that are sort of supranational, that exist outside the realm of nations and yet are also part of the system of currencies that exist in the societies. And so what I think we're coming to terms with now with the basic income is that currency, you can simply extend it and expand it to include people instead of exclude them, and you do that simply by distributing it to the people. And it's as simple as that. And like, I do think that Justin Trudeau and the federal Liberals are in this position now where, like, when it's not that they're spending this money and then it kind of gets spent and then vanishes, right? You can allot money, right? Because we know that we like have a certain level of production, and we understand that we do a certain amount of things, and we can simply allot a certain percentage of our productivity in order to ensure that this floor exists and that it always will be that way. And the minute you allot that money, right, and you've built your society so that it's always just going to funnel finance, it's always going to circulate money in that direction, then it's not something that you're constantly having to upkeep. Like, we don't constantly sweat and worry about how we pay for the child care benefit. We don't worry how we pay for the old age pension security. We have allotted the money to pay for it, and it's going to be paid for forever. There really is no concern about that. If we had a concern that we wouldn't be able to pay for those things, we literally would be facing like a collapsing society. Like, that's the kind of thing that you start talking about when a nuclear bomb goes off in a major city, right? You don't start talking about, and once you start realizing like that it's a tool, that it's something you're just allotting capital to be able to take care of an issue that exists in your society, something that we've been doing with our universal healthcare system, our education system, the child care benefit, the old age security, right? We've already been doing that. We just simply need to decide and to do these things, and then we can allot the productivity to do it. And when a conservative stands up and says we can't afford it, what they're actually saying is we don't want to do it. That's really what they're saying. They're not saying we can't, because what does that even mean? What does that even mean? Like, we can't afford it. Like, what are you talking about? Right? Of course we can afford it. We can afford anything we want to do. We can afford anything we want to do. We just need to actually decide to do it and then funnel our energy into that. This is the big thing that I think people are kind of missing out, is that the money is just numbers. It's just an organizational tool to give us a sense of how much energy or how much human time and capital and labor we're putting towards an idea or an objective. But it itself is not a thing. It's not a relevant part of your life, in truth. What matters more to you and what should matter more to you is your time. That your time is an indispensable thing. That your time is the thing that matters the most, because you have a limited amount of time. as a guarantee. You have a limited amount of time here on this plane of existence. And even more than that, you have no idea how much time you have. So every moment you spend selling your time to a capitalist death cult that will abandon you, in my view, is a wasted minute. And that minute would be better served sitting in an open field doing nothing. We've built this incredible society where we don't actually need that many people, especially compared to what we used to do. We don't need this many people just blithely grinding away at the whim of a capitalist class. We don't need to do it. And we can simply decide. We can simply say, like, hey, we have like this incredible agricultural machine that requires so little labor from the society. It really does. Like, especially comparatively. Like, we used to put most people into agriculture, producing food. Now it's a very small minority. Like, I've read articles that it's as low as 2% of the population. But certainly no more than 5% of the population that's dedicated towards the production of food. Like, when you consider that it used to be between 70 and 90% of the society, like that's an automation, that's a technology boom, that's this incredible thing. And instead of saying, oh, okay, like, wow, what a huge thing, maybe the populace could benefit from that, rather than like going into the field and producing food and all of this kind of stuff, we could have more leisure time, and we could have more time to spend with one another. We could have more time to enjoy the company of our family and our friends. We could spend more time enjoying our time here, instead of wallowing in the sort of natural suffering that exists with being here. And all we have to do to achieve that is agree that that's an acceptable thing to do. But that's not what happened. What happened is that we got jammed into factory jobs originally, right? Producing widgets and wadgets and all kinds of toys and doodads and worthless things, just worthless things. I used to work in a toy store, right? Before the COVID-19 crisis, I worked in a toy store. And the amount of absolutely worthless things that came through that place, that the kids who purchased them will look back on and go, oh my God, this was a nightmare. Those LOL dolls. Oh my God, LOL dolls are like a nightmare. I won't get into it. It's just a garbage heap. It's just a festering wart. And then those factories got shipped away from us and went in other places because those people would agree to do it for cheaper. And so the energy flowed towards them because it allowed this sort of worthless capitalist class to accrue more of these imaginary numbers and make life harder for everyone else. And then we just kind of started, instead of factories, we would work in service jobs, right? And these service jobs, so basically our whole economy, as far as I'm concerned, is mainly us just shuffling food and goods around. And not even efficiently or effectively, right? So many of our structures and our systems that exist in our society simply exist because we have this incredibly odd demand that people sell their labor to a market that's owned by billionaires. And it's that agreement in the society, more than anything else, is the rotten core of the antagonism in our society. that when a person is randomly generated and born into the world, the very first thing we say to them is, you better earn your keep. Get to work, sell yourself, and they don't really even know what's going on. We jam them through this education system, and I have opinions about the education system that exists here in this country. We jam them through an education system that doesn't really teach them anything about what's going on. They certainly didn't teach me about the selling yourself into a labor market. There was always just kind of this assumption, you got to get a job, right? You got to get a job, right? And you do if you agree that we should be selling our labor to a market that's owned by billionaires. And something like the basic income, we can simply agree. We can simply say to one another, no, we're going to pay for people's food and shelter, right? And the way that we're going to do that is we're just going to give them these promissory notes that allow them to do that. And they're going to turn around and they're going to deliver those promissory notes to people who are selling homes or renting out apartments or selling food. And it's just one of those things where I think people have kind of lost the forest for the trees. We have forgotten that economies circulate, money isn't real, that it's just a way for us to keep track of ourselves as a culture. But it's not a moralizing thing, and it's not people who have more money are not better people. They're just more efficiently connected, especially in a society where having money means you can get more money, right? Like, if you are born rich or if you're born with lots of money, then you're probably going to continue being that way. And it's going to take some kind of dramatic things for it to not be so. And that's kind of how the system is designed, because it's how we've agreed to have it. And we can change it. And we've already changed it. With the passing of the emergency fund, like there's the allotment. Like, we're allotting the resources we need. And I just honestly feel like these liberals are just going to steadily continue expanding it and continue expanding it and continue expanding it, just kind of steadily dripping it out and dripping it out. And then before we know it, it'll be there. Because especially now that the senators have stood up and offered their support, I think coming down from it would be political suicide for them. The NDP are standing right there. They're going to say, hey, let's pass a basic income. And I feel like the populace is going to go like, yeah, let's do that. Yeah. And I struggle for myself. Like, I was contemplating today, like, what would my life look like? I don't honestly know. I don't honestly know. What would my life look like if my rent was paid and I had enough money to buy food for myself? What would my life look like, and where would I put my energy? I've never had the opportunity. Well, I hope you guys are all doing well out there. Like and subscribe, hey? What the hell? I hope you guys are having fun.